Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Throwaway2oo. Me, 17 female, with my older brother, 26 male. He is using me as his alibi while he cheats on his fiancée and I feel stuck and unable to stop it. Throwaway as said brother created my Reddit account for me and I know he occasionally snoops on there to see what I am up to. So Reddit, I am so stupidly stuck in this situation with no way out. You see, I have always been close to my brother, Kieran. I am more boyish, so he always showed me how to do stuff because my dad is not around much. He too cheated on my mom several times, so my brother picked up his slack. I love him to death and beyond, but I don't want to help him any longer. His fiancée, Sam, is a wonderful person, very loving, never made me feel weird for being so close to my much older brother, and much rather embraced it. I've been doing more girly stuff with her and I like it. I see her as a friend, and she has actively been letting me help with the wedding. She and my mom get along as well, and we often go for lunches together. Everything seems perfect, right? But it isn't really though. I began to suspect that my brother was cheating when he said that him and I had hung out together at a time when we clearly hadn't. At first I thought he must be planning a surprise for her or whatever, but if he had, he would have included me or at least gave me a warning I was going to be his alibi, right? He kind of stared at me really odd when he said we had spent the evening together, so I kind of agreed, again, thinking nothing of it at the moment. It began happening more and I began to grow anxious. It took me some time to ask him what was going on and he basically said that it was fine, that there was nothing to worry about. But guess what? That made me worry even more. Reddit, I know privacy is important. I would never go through my brother's belongings and I have never done it before. But I was hanging out with him and he left his phone while he went to get us Chinese food. And I only really noticed it when a message came in. I looked at it and it was from someone named Mandy. And it said something along the lines of when were they going to meet up that night and that she missed him. I blew up at him when he came back, demanding to know who was Mandy. He tried to hide it at first, acting like she was just a friend, but I had never heard of her before. After some prodding, he told me she was a co-worker and it had only been happening for the last month. Ever since I became his alibi, basically. He tried to reason with me that he wasn't sure Sam was the one and he wanted to try being with other women to be sure of his feelings. What the F? I don't know why I did not call Sam right then and there, but he begged me not to tell her and that he would end it right away. I also know it is not stopped and the wedding is in about 9 months. And he does not use me as an alibi anymore in my presence because when my mom, Sam and me went out for a movie, Sam asked me if I had fun with my brother that evening. I, of course, had not met him on the night she mentioned, meaning he's still at it. Reddit, please help me. I have no one to turn to. I want to tell Sam the truth, but it would tear our lives apart. My brother will hate me for sure, and I cannot lose him. My mom will be so hurt as well after everything Dad did to her, and I cannot even imagine how Sam will feel. She is so in love with him and won't stop gushing over this perfect spring wedding. What do I do? Tell the truth or just continue this stupid lie? Well, OP, you're in an incredibly sucky situation, of course, but you know what's the right thing to do. You know you need to tell Sam, or else you wouldn't be asking about it. Unfortunately, you've come to the hard realization that somebody as scummy as a cheater and somebody as awesome as a perfect brother, in your case, are the same person. And of course that sucks because it's so difficult to put the two together, to say that somebody that's so awesome like your big brother who took care of you and protected you is also a scummy person that cheats on their fiancé. But here's the thing, OP, by telling Sam, it's not like you would be betraying him or anything like that. He put you in this situation. You're just getting out of it. He did this to his relationship and to himself. Nobody forced him to cheat or anything like that. And that ridiculous mental gymnastic, oh, I just want to be sure that Sam is the one, that's why I'm going around sleeping with other people. Right, yeah, because that's how you do it. That excuse is weak as F, and it's actually insulting that he tried to use it on you, OP. Now, in your situation, OP, you've got two choices. One, you make your brother tell his fiance, or two, you tell the fiance. Honestly, with cheaters, I would never trust them, so I would go straight to the fiance and tell her what's going on. And what do you guys think about this whole situation, or what would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Arthro1234 says, your brother is disgusting. Using his little sister as an alibi to cheat? Tell him that either he tells Sam or you will. This is not okay. Also, if your brother hadn't involved you in the first place, he never would have been found out. Don't start crap, won't be crap to deal with. This situation is entirely of his own making. Please be really wary of your brother in the future. He has no integrity at all. It's very sad, but he's not trustworthy, so do not make the mistake of trusting him. Rock and Roll Martian says, definitely tell her. Other than that, I think you should talk with your brother. Surely he saw the pain his father caused your mom when he cheated. Maybe remind him how you appreciate that Kieran made up for the father you never had, but it was because of cheating that you don't have much of a father to begin with. Especially if Kieran has negative feelings towards his dad. Make that comparison. Tell him he is acting just like your dad did. It might make him change his ways. Scammer C says, it's going to tear everyone's lives apart no matter what you do. So you have to decide if you can lie to your sister-in-law's face every day for however long it takes her to figure it out. After that, she's realized you'd lied all along and will hate you. Remember this, it's much easier to get out of a wedding than a marriage. You know what it's like being the child in that situation. Is that what you want for such a sweet person? Your brother will get over it. He'll just learn not to involve you the next time. Walk Through This says, be honest with Sam. Your brother is doing the damage to your relationship by using you to cheat on his fiancée. Seriously, with that one course of action, he's destroying his relationship with Sam and his relationship with his family. Sit down with Sam and your parents. Explain to her what's going on and why she must cancel the wedding. Please, don't let your brother ruin this girl's life with a sham marriage. If he's cheating now, he fully intends to cheat once he marries her. Please keep him from ruining years of her life. Jujobi says, being 17 and putting your brother would be very hard to deal with emotionally. I would sit down with your brother and talk to him. Tell him you're no longer covering for him. Try to work out a way that can be honest with her. People cheat for a reason. It explains the action but doesn't make it right. It may encourage them to see marriage counseling before they get married to see if he will be honest on his own. You're the only one who can decide if you want to tell. You have to live with everything afterwards. I wish you luck. Much love, OP. Try to remember that if he's willing to cheat, then he can deal with the consequences. Alright, well, the community agrees. The brother sucks and OP needs to tell the fiance. Some are saying that he should do it, some are saying that OP should do it. I say OP should do it, she shouldn't trust the cheater. Now, unfortunately, OP didn't reply to any messages or give us an edit, so there is no more information from OP, which means we move on straight to the update. But of course, before that, you know that here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after the video. Now let's move on to the update. A couple of weeks have passed since my first post, and it has been just one big mess. I really just want to forget about this altogether. The Saturday after my post, I gave my brother an ultimatum. He either confessed to Sam, or I will do it for him. He was pretty stunned by this, so I quickly continued telling him how hurt I was that he used me as his alibi and how angry I am at his infidelity, especially after everything our father had done to us, and that I couldn't allow that to happen to Sam. I thought he was better than that. He didn't take that very well. Maybe I shouldn't have compared him to our dad, but I said it and I meant it. He blew up, of course, saying how ungrateful I was and that I was a brat, to put it down lightly. I didn't back down. I gave him 1 week and no more. If he can't tell her, he should break up with her at the very least, because Sam doesn't deserve to be with someone who isn't faithful to her. I could tell the thought of breaking up with her scared him. So the week passed quietly with my brother avoiding me, as I had very much expected. But my mom noticed something was up between us, however. I didn't tell her anything, as I felt again it shouldn't be my place to tell her what Kieran had done. Then, the week had passed and no word had come from either my brother or Sam yet. So, in the late afternoon, I texted him whether he had told her yet, and while I saw he read my message, he didn't answer. I started to get upset with my brother's behavior and his cowardice again, so I quickly texted Sam asking her where my brother was. She texted me back that he had been out the door all day at work and that he said he was going over to my place after. I kind of figured he would come over if he hadn't told her to beg me for more time or something stupid like that. So I made a, to my own accord, rather bold move and biked over to Sam and my brother's place. It was so very awkward and upsetting, but in the end, it was me who had to tell her that my brother had cheated on her. I had given him a chance to tell her his story, but he hadn't taken it and I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. I told her that Kieran was seeing someone named Mandy and that he had been using me as an alibi. I hadn't known at first, and I also apologized that I hadn't come to her immediately once I had found out that my loyalty towards my brother had stopped me from doing the right thing. She cried a lot, as did I, which isn't something I do often. She told me Mandy was one of her friends, which is just another crappy move on my brother's part. She picked her phone and called my brother first, who wasn't picking up. And then she phoned Mandy, asking her for the truth. Mandy lied at first, but after some pushing, admitted she had been seeing my brother. There was a big fight over the phone and it ended with Mandy hanging up on Sam. After an hour, which Sam spent on the phone with her mother asking her to come pick her up while I was packing some things for her, we both left the building. My brother still hadn't called back by then. From what I heard, he had gone to a bar to drink and then he crashed at a friend's place. I went home to my mom and told her as well, because I feel like I should be able to tell my mother my part of the story at least. She was incredibly upset and angry at my brother, especially because it reminded her of what my dad had done to her, and she called him many times to no avail. I got a text that Sunday from my brother calling me a bitch and a traitor, that I shouldn't have done that and that I'd ruined his life and his future with Sam. I didn't respond as I didn't want to face more of his anger. He talked to my mom on the phone, I think asking her for help, but she told him that he is a grown man and that he made his own plate and he now had to face the consequences of his actions alone. Sam also called me, telling me she had broken up with my brother. She said that if he had just told her the truth, they could have maybe worked it out. But it was the fact that she had to hear it from me, his little sister, that made her realize what a coward he was. I haven't heard much from my brother since then. He came over once to try and talk to me and my mom, but I think he was drunk, so my mom didn't let him in and threatened to call the police if he didn't stop. I think he is starting to realize what his mistake cost him, and I am sad for him that he is so alone right now, but it hurts too much to be with him. I need time for now, I think. I don't want to ever fully cut my brother out, but it will take a long time for us to have any normal brother-sister relationship again. My mom has calmed down a bit and is going to meet him this weekend, but she will still give him quite an earful. Sam is fine. She and I text still, and I am happy she is not angry with me. She told me she understood that it was a crappy position to be in and that she was proud of me that I had the courage to tell her. She is currently living with her parents until she can find a new place to live. I am happy for her. Reddit, you really helped a girl out. I was so stuck and I didn't know what to do anymore. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Big smiley face with a tear. P.S. I also made a new Reddit account so my brother can't spy on me any longer. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a bittersweet update because even though Sam's heart is broken, your mom is angry, and of course you're also upset with your brother, that relationship is over and she is no longer being cheated on. And also, OP, it took a lot of courage, like Sam recognized in you, to do what you did. So here's wishing you and your mom and all of your family the best in the future, and hopefully your brother can truly understand what he did and feel sorry for it. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user The Breakup 2013. Short me 70,000 in violation of our written agreement, I'll cost you 1.8 million. A year out of school in the early 1990s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took off over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned. What was a rich family and company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation or net worth in the high 9 or low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody, and had a reputation as very ruthless or greedy when it came to financing, deal-making, employees, etc. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. Now, like a lot of people of the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gains with ownership as casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is, until one day in late 1999, when the owner came to me and asked me if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still, being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they acknowledged this wasn't my role in the company, it was a personal matter between the owner and me, and to document my compensation for this arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around this time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weakness associated with a lot of tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside information, just a strong educated sense of which companies were struggling. Based on this sense, I started using both my money and the owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means if the value of the stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted big risks and big rewards, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. The accounts were separate, but both were under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. Well, both my account and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst, and both accounts, but his in particular, began to skyrocket. Then, in June of that year, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weaknesses in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options and shorts, based on the positions I had closed, there was $1.35 million in cash sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions, which, if memory serves, were worth about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded $1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention, said, "Great, 1.35 million, fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the $350,000 profit, or $70,000, before wiring him the $280,000 he's entitled to. I also reminded him I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He, once again, appeared not to understand or comprehend the open positions statement, but instead totally focused and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough, I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him and the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for the owner's reputation. So now comes the revenge. Since after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire 1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker. The owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the 1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents, or any type of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options, puts in this case, for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years and the owner never asked about it during my tenure after I gave notice or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady as F, but given his dishonesty with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 million. I paid taxes on the gain, long-term cap gain, and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody has asked about it since, and I have only told the story to a few people, and even then only after the statute of limitations passed. The final ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years, I gained greater influence with ownership in my position within the company because they considered me loyal for giving the 1.35 million back and not making too much of a stink about the $70,000 profit. Little did they know I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes, but my understanding is that ownership walked away in a very good financial position. They likely could have been a much better and greater company had they not practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients, and employees. Anyway, there have been no negative consequences from all of this. In fact, the remaining family members have reached out a time or two about some consulting work. They have no clue. Thanks for reading, and I hope you enjoyed it. Well, OP, he wanted high risk. I guess he was just too greedy to get the reward. But it worked great for you. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.